Imagine for a second that you are standing on the edge of a vast, shimmering ocean. The horizon stretches out forever, and beneath the surface of that water is every resource, every opportunity, and every bit of wealth you could ever possibly need to live the life of your dreams. Now, look down at your hands. Most people are standing at the edge of that infinite supply, with nothing but a tiny plastic teaspoon. They are exhausted, they are frustrated, and they are wondering why they can't seem to gather enough to even quench their thirst, let alone build an empire. They think the problem is the ocean. They think the ocean is running dry, or that it's being rationed out to a lucky few. But the ocean doesn't care who you are. It's just sitting there, waiting for you to bring a bigger container. Most of us spend our lives trying to be the best teaspoon wielders in the world, thinking that if we just dip our spoons faster and more frantically, we'll eventually get ahead. We call this hard work. We pride ourselves on the grind. But the truth is, you don't need to work faster. You need to ask for more. You need to learn the one skill that separates the dreamers from the achievers, a skill so simple that most adults have completely forgotten how to use it. It's the art of the ask, and if you can master it, you'll realize that the vault to everything you want isn't locked to, just haven't been using the right combination. The most profound realization you can have is that being a good worker is a baseline, not a destination. Don't get me wrong, effort matters. You have to show up. You have to put in the time. But there is a ceiling on what effort alone can buy you. If you want to break through that ceiling, you have to transition from being a worker to being an asker. Why? Because asking initiates a psychological and emotional process that is almost mechanical in its reliability. It's like walking into a dark room and flipping a switch. You don't necessarily need to be an electrician to understand the flow of electrons or the physics of a circuit to get the lights to come on. You just have to know where the switch is and have the intention to flip it. When you clearly define what you want, and you put that request out into the world, whether you're asking a mentor, a boss, a partner, or even just stating it clearly to yourself, you are activating a dormant machinery. Your brain has a filter called the reticular activating system. When you don't ask for anything specific, that filter stays closed. You walk past opportunities every single day, because your brain thinks they're irrelevant, but the moment you ask, the moment you define a goal, that filter snaps open. Suddenly, you start seeing the how everywhere. You notice the people, the books, and the coincidences that were always there, but you were too busy working hard to see them. The tragedy is that most people are suffering from a chronic failure to ask. They get up every morning, they hit the pavement, they do the tasks, they answer the emails, but if you ask them to show you a single scrap of paper where they've clearly written down exactly what they want to receive in exchange for all that labor, they'd come up empty. They are good workers but poor askers. They are like a captain of a ship who is incredibly talented at scrubbing the deck and polishing the brass but has no idea what port the ship is supposed to be heading toward. You can have the cleanest ship in the world, but if you don't give the orders to steer toward a destination, you're just going to drift until you run out of supplies. Receiving isn't the part of the equation you need to worry about. The world is actually designed to give back. If you plant a seed, the earth doesn't ask you for your credentials. It just starts the process of turning that seed into a harvest. The receiving part is automatic. The bottleneck is almost always the asking part. We are so afraid of being told no, or we're so conditioned to believe that we should just be grateful for whatever crumbs fall off the table, that we stop making requests altogether. We stop being specific. We start mumbling our dreams under our breath because we don't want to sound demanding. But listen, the universe doesn't respond to mumbling. If you go to a restaurant and tell the waiter, "I'm kind of hungry. Just bring me whatever," don't be surprised when you get a plate of something you can't stand. If you want the steak, you have to ask for the steak. You have to be intelligent about it. Asking with intelligence means you stop being vague. "I want more money" is a mumble. $1 is more money. If I give you $1, I've technically fulfilled your request, but you won't be happy. Intelligent asking sounds like how much, exactly, by what date, what color is the upholstery, how many square feet, what does the contract actually say? Specificity is the language of success. When you describe what you want with vivid high-definition detail, your goals become like a high-powered magnet. They start to pull you toward them. The more blurred the image, the weaker the magnetic pull. If your goals are fuzzy, your motivation will be fuzzy. But when you can see it, smell it, and describe it so clearly that someone else could draw a picture of it, you've created a gravity well that pulls you through the hard days. You aren't just working anymore. You're being drawn toward a destination. Now, here is the part where most people get tripped up. To truly get whatever you want, you have to master a weird paradox. You have to make your plans like an adult, but you have to believe in them like a child. Think about the way an adult plans. An adult looks at the budget, they look at the timeline, they look at the logistics, and they make a clear, intelligent roadmap. They use their logic. But then, most adults do something fatal. They let that same logic kill their faith. They start looking at all the reasons why the plan might fail. They look at the economy, they look at their past mistakes, and they talk themselves out of the ask before they even finish the sentence. That's why you need the child side of the equation. A child doesn't care about the how. If a child wants to build a castle out of sand, they don't worry about the structural integrity of the grains or the tide schedules of the Atlantic Ocean. They just start building with the absolute, unshakable belief that the castle is going to exist. They have this pure, unpolluted faith that if they want it, it's possible. You need that. You need to take your adult plan, the one with the numbers and the deadlines. You need to protect it with childlike belief. Don't let the skeptical adult in your head poison the well. The skeptical adult thinks they're being realistic, but usually, they're just being cynical. Reality is much more flexible than most adults give it credit for. Success is not in short supply. This is the most important thing to get through your head if you've been feeling like you're falling behind. We often live with this rationing mindset. We think that if someone else gets a big piece of the pie, there's less for us. We think that if we step up to the window and ask for something big, the clerk is going to tell us, sorry, we just gave out the last of the success to that guy over there. But that's not how the world works. Success is an ocean, not a pie. Your neighbor can take out 10,000 gallons, and it doesn't lower the sea level by a single inch for you. The only thing that limits you is the size of the container you brought to the shore. If you're standing there with a teaspoon, it's not because the ocean is empty. It's because you didn't think you were allowed to bring a bucket. You have to stop apologizing for wanting more. You have to stop feeling guilty for having high expectations. The world admires the doers, and the doers are always the ones who had the audacity to ask for something that everyone else thought was unrealistic. So, here is the challenge. If you're tired of the grind not yielding the results you were promised, I want you to try an experiment for just 90 days. For the next 3 months, stop just being a worker and start being an architect. Sit down and write out exactly what you want. Don't mumble, be specific. If it's a career move, what is the title? What is the salary? What does your daily routine look like? If it's a health goal, what is the number on the scale? How do your clothes fit? If it's a relationship, what kind of energy are you asking for? Write it down as if you are placing an order with the universe. And then, once the plan is made, switch into child mode. Every morning, look at that list and believe in it, with the same intensity that a kid believes in a birthday wish. Don't ask how it's going to happen yet. Just focus on the fact that you've made the request. You can always go back to your old way of living after 90 days. You can go back to the teaspoon and the mumble and the realistic skepticism. But just give yourself one season of life where you play the game by a different set of rules. You'll find that when you change the quality of your asking, the world changes the quality of its giving. Most people will listen to this and think, that sounds too simple. Life is harder than that, and for them, it will be. Because they are still studying the roots while the rest of us are picking the fruit. They are so busy trying to figure out the why and the how that they never actually get around to the do. They are waiting for a guarantee before they're willing to make a request. But there are no guarantees for the person who doesn't ask. The only guarantee is that if you don't ask, the answer is always no. But the moment you find the courage to be specific, to be intelligent, and to be childlike in your faith, you start to see that the machinery of the world is actually geared toward your success. It's like pushing a button you didn't know existed. You push it, and things start moving. People start calling. Ideas start popping into your head while you're in the shower. Doors that were slammed shut suddenly have a welcome mat in front of them. It's not magic. It's just the way the system works. You were just never taught how to use the controls. Think about the most successful person you know. If you really look at their life, you'll realize they aren't necessarily working 10 times harder than you. They aren't 10 times smarter, but they are almost certainly 10 times clearer about what they want. They don't mumble. They don't settle for whatever. They understand that the art of asking is the master key to every vault in existence. They trade the teaspoon for a pump, and they don't feel bad about it. They know that the ocean is big enough for everyone. So, ask yourself right now, what is the one thing you've been working for that you haven't actually asked for? What is the goal that is currently sitting in the back of your mind as a vague maybe someday instead of a specific by this date? Turn that maybe into a demand. Turn that mumble into a clear, intelligent description. And then, watch what happens to the world around you. But as you start this 90-day process, there is one final piece of the puzzle that almost everyone forgets. It's the one thing that can stop the automatic receiving process in its tracks, even if you've done everything else perfectly. There is a hidden cancel button that most people accidentally press right after they make their big request. And it's the reason why so many people get so close to their dreams, only to have them vanish at the last second. If you don't understand how to avoid this one common psychological trap, all the asking in the world won't save you. and we'll talk about exactly what that trap is and how to steer clear of it very soon. Until then, get your paper out, get your bucket ready, and start the process. The ocean is waiting.